Let's cross to the south state of Delta and speak to the governorship candidate of the Labour Party, Ken Pela. Thank you so much for joining us on the news tonight. Let me begin by asking you the implications of the postponement of the elections by 1 week. What does that mean for you and your campaign?
Thank you very much for having me. The 1 week has two sides. On one hand, we were ready to do this tomorrow and had begun to put everything in place. On the other hand, it will give us a chance to continue with the build-up, the momentum that we at the Labour Party are doing, and increase our footprint across the state and ensure total victory at the polls next Saturday.
Yeah, before now, the Labour Party was relatively unknown in Delta State, but capitalizing on the obedient phenomenon and, you know, the great showing of the party at the February 25th presidential elections, do you think that Labour Party has now become, you know, a household name in Delta State, where you have the traditional People's Democratic Party and now maybe All Progressives Congress? What's your showing really going to be like there?
Yeah, most definitely. Our showing, like you put it, we had 341,000 votes to the next party, the PDP's 161,000. So our votes were like double the next party. And even when you put the PDP and the APC together and all the other parties, it wasn't up to our showing. So it's most definitely, we are very, very certain that at the next elections, we will do even better.
Are you basing that on just numbers? Because you, of all people, I read an interview which you granted recently, and you said you've been in politics for about 22 years. You know very well that the presidential elections in Nigeria are a total different ball game from the local elections, which are the governorship elections in the country. So why the presidential election results in Delta State may have gone the way of Peter Obi and your party, it does not necessarily mean it may go the way, your way at the governorship level. We've seen that play out in different states, in different elections in this country. Are you banking on the Obi phenomenon and the Labour Party phenomenon?
Yes, there's the Obi phenomenon and the Labour Party phenomenon. But more importantly is the fact that Delta State has been yearning for change for 24 years. Virtually every election cycle, the people have been yearning for change. And this is the first time that they have been able to see that they can defeat the ruling party. More importantly, there's also the fact that the ruling party, the PDP, is a shadow of itself. It's divided into several parts. All right? So, yes, there's the Obi phenomenon. There's the fact that the people are yearning for change. There's also the fact that the PDP, the ruling party, is no more together, is no more united, and is a shadow of itself. The APC, which is the other contending force, is coming from 8 years of, for lack of a better word, destroying Nigeria. All right? So people don't want either the PDP or the APC. As far as we are concerned in Delta, it is Otapiapia and Sniper. Whichever one you eat, you will die. So people want change. You need to go out there and see the people as they receive us. Papa, Mama, and Pikin has become a phenomenon across Delta State. Once again, I am confident that we will thrash them a second time.
Well, you just reminded me of Frederick Forsyth's novel, The Dogs of War, and which says whichever option, man chooses, men are surely going to die. My next question is that the PDP, prides itself to have developed Delta State in the last 8 years, infrastructurally, educationally, and all the indices of growth. So what are those deficits or gaps that you, Ken, will want to plug or fill in the development of the state?
I laugh when you say that the PDP says that they have prides themselves on development in the last 8 years. Anybody who has seen Delta State and would compare it to, for example, River State in the last 8 years will cry for Delta. We've gone from good to bad to worse. When I talk about this, there's one road. 70% of Delta lives in the central and south senatorial districts. There's one major road. There are 3 roads to from the south to the north. But one of those roads is totally in our control. 2 of those roads you will say are federal roads and you cannot blame the state government for. That's one road that is totally in our control. It's been under development for over 20 years. They have been unable to finish it. A road as important as that. And I cannot see roads anywhere in the state. They are all dilapidated. When they try to do roads, give them one rainy season and the roads are gone. They've not been building quality infrastructure. We have a huge infrastructural deficit in the state. Education is in a... My brother, I laugh when they talk about the development. There's no development. The amount of development we've had in the state compared to the amount of resources that we have had, and considering the fact that it added to those resources we've been borrowing, there's a lot to change. Now, when you talk about the gaps that one is going to plug, we've had a situation where we've had a huge recurrent expenditure. All right? That for me is pure and simple mismanagement. 60% of our budget is spent on recurrent expenditure. Compare that to Borno State, where out of, now 60% I'm referring to is over 200 billion. Now in Borno State, in 2021 or so, their recurrent expenditure was 100 billion. On what basis should we have states compared to another state 200 and something billion in recurrent expenditure compared to 100 billion in recurrent expenditure? That for me is pure and simple mismanagement. We're going to eliminate waste and corruption, amongst with a lot of other things that we plan to do.
Okay, interesting that you said that, but looking at statistics that have been put out by even independent bodies such as Budget, in 2021, Delta State ranked second when it came to debt sustainability in the country, when it came to education, health spending. It also ranks top among 36 states in Nigeria. But I was looking at your manifesto, what you call the 8-point plan for Delta State. You're promising to pay 100,000 naira minimum wage. How exactly do you intend to do that? Where's the money going to come from? And how many people are you going to pay 100,000 minimum wage monthly?
Okay, I just pointed out the kind of wastes that we have. 200 billion in recurrent expenditure. I believe that our recurrent expenditure can be cut down significantly. I pointed out the fact that Borno State spends 100 billion in recurrent expenditure. And when you look at the elements of the recurrent expenditure, you have over 80 billion in overhead expenses. You have over 30 billion in miscellaneous expenses. I believe that when we are able to eliminate the waste and corruption that we have, we'll be able to sustain the kind of wage bill that we are talking about.
Well, just before we let you go, what are these wastes? You know, how are you going to reduce this recurrent expenditure? Are you going to retrench workers, downsizing? Is it because of a bloated, workforce? Tell us quickly.
Okay, we have a combination of things. There's the workforce, there are political aids, for example. There are so many people. Now, it may not necessarily be the civil service, but we have so many aids that are not necessary. All right, so we have looked at it and we believe that we can cut waste by reducing some of those things. We can cut waste by reducing the overheads. Remember that I'm coming from a party where we have my mentor, the incoming president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, made an example of Anambra State. All right, we believe that learning from that, we will be able to make another example with Delta State.
Ken, Pela, the governorship candidate for the Labour Party in Delta State, or also known as the Big Hat State.
The Big Hat, yes.
We wish you the best in the forthcoming election.